All right, meeting come to order. We don't have minutes. We need to catch up on minutes. Counselor Carey will do so. Or the clerk will find you at your home. Send out a nasty note. Dan, I haven't had minutes since October. I had to send a letter to Peg too, but I don't know. Do you owe some in November?
I think they're about fixed.
Oh, that's okay. Mayor communication, anything other than what's on the business? Talking about those two items.
No.
Okay.
No, I just wanted
All right. So, I don't know how this works. We accept it. I don't know if it needs a public hearing. Obviously, for me, as the chair of this committee, I will say that I do want to tax, max tax 3%. Do we have, Salem, you can answer this, do we have latitude as to what percentage? Or is it 3% or nothing?
I think you can do, so it's a rate not greater than 3% is what it is. So I imagine
So,
we
you
could
could
do
do 2 or 1.
We could do 1 or 2 or.
I wish we could do a lot more than
What do you think?
No, you know what I wish? I wish we could extend the excise tax to alcohol.
Well, I agree to that, but that's not what's on the agenda.
I know. But since we're saying our
Wait,
wishes,
I'm not prepared for that.
Since we're stating our wishes, I'm gonna state them.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in support of going to the max of 3%. I think that there's unknown, sale revenues and impact on the community, regardless of how many dispensaries or whatnot are in town. The 3% needs to be captured.
Now, the other thing I wanted to ask Salem, is this only for retail and social consumption sites, or does it affect the sale of product from a cultivator?
So this would be an end user tax. So this is only for product that's sold recreationally through a dispensary or a social
So it
consumption.
can't be the cultivator wholesaling it to a dispensary?
That tax, it's the end user. So it's not taxed multiple times throughout the chain.
So, if I may.
Sure.
So as I understand, so ENSA or any other entity that's cultivating in Easthampton, if they take that product and say put it in one of their other dispensaries, that 3% tax is captured there, the local tax. It's
Right.
not our local
No.
tax. Yeah, and that's another reason why we need to be at 3%, just to keep it competitive and capture anything sold here.
Right.
I think there's an argument out there to have it lower, so then the cultivators sell more here. I just don't find that. I think the market's gonna be the market.
Well, and plus, it's already gonna be heavily taxed, so, this is in addition to the 6.25 and another, 3.75.
The 6.25 and whatever the state does goes to the state.
Goes to the state.
We don't get
This is
that.
just this 3% is just for us.
And it goes direct.
Unless it's a meal. Wait a
Uh,
minute.
Social consumption, you mean?
Well, no, if we're talking about edibles,
So edibles
is
would be.
there a food tax on edibles that we would be eligible for under the
So-
restaurant tax? It's a takeout edible.
I think it's just
Takeout
retail,
edibles.
it's just retail, just like
So it
if
would
you bought
be-
something
It's
in
like
the 7-Eleven.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like buying, yeah.
So it's not like food sales tax you get from
No.
restaurants.
No, unless like in some future scenario, there was a restaurant that was served, which I don't see happening. I just don't see how they would be able to regulate that.
Well, a
So-
social consumption site, selling an edible.
Selling, yeah, but there would be, that edible would be taxed.
It would be taxed at the 3%.
Right.
Okay.
And it would be like a prepackaged thing. It's not like you, like a restaurant.
Putting it in your soup or something.
Right. And if they did do that someday, eventually, then I imagine if there was a restaurant that was doing it, the restaurant would be responsible for paying
The
meals tax.
a meals tax.
Right.
And so they'd have 2 local option taxes to pay. But like I said, I don't see that becoming something.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, just a second. If you go to a drive-through, you're not eating on premises, right? You go to a drive-through, you pick up your food. Oh, I'm not paying sales tax because I'm
Well, you pay
driving through
a
and
meal
taking it
tax.
home.
Right.
You are
You're
paying
gonna
a meal
pay
tax
your
at
meals
McDonald's
tax.
if you drive through.
Yeah.
You pay
Or a
that.
Half the
restaurant.
meal is taxed.
But I don't think any of this the edibles are gonna be comparable to a meal.
No.
It's more like a candy bar.
It's a candy bar sold at retail. I don't think it's anything.
Hey, guys, I'm, you know, trying to figure out a way
Right, so
to
I-
make sure
If we can
the
tax it, we should.
municipality gets the most
Yeah.
revenue.
Yeah.
Well, there's another part of revenue that I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
Salem is telling me that in the law, not in the regs, there is 3% revenue sharing that the host agreements put down that you get to decide.
Yep.
I would like to ask you to do 3% for everybody, but I want to know what you think of that, because that means it's 6% coming to the Easthampton. I think we should maximize our dollars from this, and I say that because I feel we can use the money, number one, if we need to increase public safety, to more officers, a liaison to help protect these sites, especially when we have cash, until we get that figured out, until we see what's happening. You may want to add numbers to the force. Plus, this is new revenue we may be able to use to offset the property taxes on the schools somehow. I have ideas, but I'm
Yeah.
just asking you because apparently, according to Salem, and I'm not sure of this, you have all the say on revenue share. Is that what you understand?
It is my understanding, and we're in the process of doing that, and having to keep track of where that money, we want it to go and where it can go under law.
That goes to DOR and comes back to us, that, right?
The host committee?
Host agreement doesn't.
No,
That
no,
comes
that's
straight to
right,
us.
yeah,
I
it's straight to
thought,
us.
I thought the 3% came right.
The 3% tax does, but
Yeah.
the host agreement
No,
funds.
3% tax goes to DOR.
DOR and then. it's
Oh, okay, I
sent
got
back
the
to
two
us.
mixed up.
Yeah.
All right.
So, you know, the impact, and we keep a running track of the impact on the community over the first 5 years of payments, and if we can show continuing impact, then we can ask for year 6 right now.
I'm not sure I understand
So you have 5 years, in a host agreement, there are 5 years, the first 5 years, you get a payment to offset the impact on your community, whether that's public safety, that's education.
that. That 5 years is the host agreement per retailer, per cultivator,
Yeah.
per.
Mhm.
So it's a 5-year agreement.
Yep,
You could say 3% revenue share for the first 5 years,
yeah.
and then after that 5 years, it gets renegotiated. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I mean, it's, right now, my understanding is it's 5 years that there's a host community impact fee that can be levied by the local municipality.
After the 5 years, we lose it completely?
Or you just have to
Unless
prove
you
it.
document.
You have to prove it.
The impact.
So it
And then
seems
you
that,
negotiate for 1 more year.
So the most we'll get out of this is 6 years?
no,
Potentially.
for the impact
For the
fee.
impact.
Mhm.
But you still
It's
get the
different
3%.
than, 3% goes on, you know.
Oh, this is
yeah.
additional, the impact
Which
fee is
Yeah.
additional to the
Additional.
3%?
Yeah.
Part of the host agreement.
Holy cow, we're really sucking this.
The impact fee.
No comment, Salem.
Uh,
The impact fee is part of the host agreement. That's-
I understand that, but it sounds like it's a fee in addition to the 3% revenue
Yeah,
share.
Yes.
absolutely,
So we have
That's how
3%
I see it.
tax, 3%
Yes.
revenue sharing, and an impact fee.
yes.
Let's increase
No,
the salary
the
of
3% revenue sharing is the impact fee.
Fee.
So it's just.
All right, see, I'm a little confused here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's two streams of revenue potentially from recreational cannabis.
Mhm.
One is the 3% local option tax
Mhm.
that we basically just adopt.
Mhm.
And 2 is what's negotiated through the mayor's office with every business that wants to come to Easthampton
Yeah.
beforehand. And that is where we set out the 3% host agreement fee or impact fee.
And I prefer, at least at this point with the industry, just looking, you know, with variables of how it actually would prefer. I prefer an identified fee rather than percent of revenue at this point, because I want to know the dollars coming into the community. And it doesn't seem that we leave dollars on the table by going with one set fee and agree.
But how do you
that-
estimate what that fee should be based?
There are
you
whole
ca-
different calculations, and that's what.
Probably based on size,
Yeah.
based on what
And
their
it's
model is.
compatible to revenue sharing in the sense that, oh, this
Yeah.
particular kind of, is that cultivators too? They have revenue? When we-
I believe cultivators do have to do a host agreement.
They do, as long as, for recreational, yeah.
Anything recreational,
recreational.
whether it's
Yeah.
cultivators, lab
Yeah.
testing, or anything like that?
And medical also have a host.
I don't think we
community
got
agreement.
anything for medical, do we?
Nope, there's a host community agreement
Yeah.
with medical. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're earning money from the medical place right now?
Not the tax.
Not,
No,
no
no,
tax,
the
but
host agreement impact
we're
fee.
probably getting something.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll have to check on what that is, now that you say. I'll think about that.
Okay.
Do we
I gotta
have
look
a-
at that.
Do we have a host?
I didn't think,
We do. I think
we
We
do.
do,
Yeah.
you have to have a host agreement, it's a part of the
that was
application.
negotiated under the,
Under
under
Karen.
Cameron,
Yeah,
probably,
under
right?
I need to pull it.
So it would have been Karen and Jack probably.
Right.
Yeah, so we're in the process of looking at this with a couple of different folks.
Well, I just wanted to say, I'd like us to maximize whatever revenue we
Mhm,
can get.
Absolutely.
We can look at it, we can change it. Can we, that's a big question. If over the time comes and we want to reduce impact fees or, God forbid, the tax, what,
Oh, well, I
are
imagine.
we allowed to do that?
I imagine it would be going back through finance to take another look at
5 years from now?
this and saying we want to renegotiate our local option tax. And I think that we'd be able to lower it if we needed to, if we felt like that was going to be, for some reason, advantageous to us.
Yeah, I'm just saying, what flexibility?
I think so. And the host agreement fee is 5 years. And
The only
after
thing
that,
we as a council need to deal with is the 3% tax.
the adoption of.
We adopt it, the mayor signs it, done.
Yep,
Mhm.
and it makes sense to do it, beforehand, because if you do it after, you could miss out on capturing some of the.
Oh, I was wondering about this,
Yeah.
I'm glad you put it in.
Yep, right.
Okay. Okay, anybody else on this? Mayor, nobody? Motion?
I move to adopt the 3% tax on cannabis sales in the city.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you,
It
Salem.
was easy, and here, I'll leave this with you. This is where they changed it when they revised the law.
This is the law?
Yeah, and so where it says establishment of a rate not greater than 3% of the sales price received by the marijuana. So that's.
Why don't you copy me, you probably have a copy of the law, right? That shows
I
this.
do.
Copy me on it.
Okay, I'll send you. All right, I got practice.
Okay, bye.
Take care.
See you guys, thank you.
Thank you. So the only thing I want to do on the Charter Review Board Committee stipends and salaries, as you guys remember, we have until January 1st to decide this. Our last term, we did raise city council and we raised school committee. The mayor's was the term before that. You satisfied with your salary? I think it's 75, right?
Mhm.
I don't see raising, I think the school committee is still not paid as much as they should be, but they got raised the last term, in my
I think
opinion.
we should probably review these, take a look at them, study where we stand with regard to the other communities. And I don't
It's
think there's
hard,
any
it has to be a
urgency to do
community
this right
with the
now.
same numbers,
Right.
because I believe that's what
Yeah.
dictates it.
Yeah.
How many people in your community? I mean, well, I for one will not.
So I know Karen has helped out with this before.
But Barbara produced this.
Yeah, last year we had a
So-
big town-by-town thing.
Yeah, so-
At least for city council. I don't know what other-
I'll look at that, but also, I'm wondering if, I don't wanna open a door, but I feel like we only look at those committees that traditionally get a stipend. Most of these stipends were established when we were at town meeting.
Oh, wow.
So I'm wondering if we want to write a letter, I'm asking your opinion, to all the boards and committees. Or are we opening a can of worms? I mean, the Board of Registers gets $175 a year, and the assessors get $75 per meeting. And $120 per month. Oh, that's the clerk, I'm sorry, wrong one.
Assessors get $75 a month.
Yeah, I mean, that seems a little low, but why do they get something? I think the Board of Public Works has not had a raise since 1997, so I'm wondering if they shouldn't, because of their responsibility. Do we want to open that door and ask other committees, or do we let it go? Because you're not having trouble keeping people on committees because of lack of stipend. Somebody said babysitting might be a reason people could use the stipend, but I don't know.
You wanna ask boards that don't get a stipend if they'd like a stipend? I mean, who's gonna say no?
A lot
of them do.
A lot of them do, and here's why.
But the Board of Public Works last time said, no, we don't need any more. I asked them.
Primarily because the Board of Public, and the people who serve for the most part are folks who are
they want to do.
They're in business. You know, they make a good living. They see this as truly a great public service. The only problem with that is you don't get people who aren't in business and have a great living. So
Well-
you're really only drawing from a certain segment of the community,
We do have openings.
for the
but-
most part. And by offering something to offset what people do, get an opportunity to
Yeah, but we
expand the
haven't
number
had
of
trouble
people.
attracting people necessarily to our boards. I don't know. I don't have knowledge of how our enrollment in our committees right now is, the ones you appoint.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad.
It's not bad. I mean, there are some noticeable, you know, gaps, like EDIC right now. I mean, although we're building that back up, and ECA, the ECA board, we have, it's a really big board.
ECA, that's
Easthampton, the arts.
community arts.
Yeah, that's a really big board. But we have operating, we had 3 boards that needed members appointed, so they had quorum to meet, and that's happened, and I can't interview or talk to people fast enough to fill. I mean, I don't know how easy it is, or whatnot, similar to what Barb put together for school committee and city council. Is there anything like?
She can ask her
like stipends
compatible
for
cities.
committee? Like, do other cities?
We got that before.
DPW, I mean, I just wonder what they're getting paid now. I mean,
She gets
for the
that from
ones
her
get
clerks
paid.
association.
Yeah.
She can get us that.
Okay.
I don't necessarily want to raise it, I just want her to bring it up. And I think, as I said when we were talking about the council, I don't work on the council for the salary.
Right.
We only raise it 1,000. And it's been, you know, it was 1,500 when we started, so it's not like it's gone up a lot, and that's 21 years, so I think that's the key. This is mostly volunteerism. The Board of Public Works, I don't think they'll be upset. They're the only ones I think I would raise, because they haven't had anything. And I look at it as, like the planning board, why don't they get money? They have massive responsibility, but they don't get any money. The zoning board, massive responsibility, no money. Board of Public Works gets a little bit, $300 a year is nothing, and they have massive responsibility. So I look at it as, what is the responsibility, what's their impact on the community, and should they receive a stipend to say worth?
I mean, when I was on the zoning board, we were asked, and we all, I mean, it wasn't even.
Everybody said no, because we've asked
We said
them.
no.
We did ask, JP, do you remember, or
I
do you
remember
remember that?
asking.
We
I
asked
remember
the
asking.
planning and zoning.
Yeah.
We want to ask again? I mean, there are major committees that impact the community heavily. I mean, look at planning and what they.
Will it come out of city council's budget?
No, it would have to come out of your
Out of the
budget.
gen- out of the general
You give us all the budgets, that's why you're here.
It'll come out of the city council.
I figured I'd just.
Effective July 1.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we could, you know, the salaries,
Yeah.
the mayor's
Mhm.
salary and the council salary, we'll share it all with the boards and committees.
But, I mean, I would be interested in seeing what other communities do as far as who they pay and why. And
Okay, that's what I'll do. I'll ask
Yeah.
Barbara to put together that. We can look at that maybe in the next meeting or the couple of meetings ahead.
Sounds good.
Okay? But if I were to do anything, I would do Board of Public Works, zoning and planning. I think just to say we kind of appreciate it. I mean, I don't want to add a lot to the budget. A couple of grand I might add, but that's
Yeah.
nothing.
No, I'm not.
But I don't think we're having trouble finding people to be on the planning board,
Yeah, I mean.
because it's so
I've never
important.
heard somebody say, oh, I want to do it, but I can't afford to. And maybe they're out there, they just haven't said it.
Well, and we've asked, remember? And they said, no, we don't need any money.
But that's correct.
It's more of a time, I mean, when people are talking so far in, you know, since January, to my office, they're like more about the time, like, oh, it meets, you know, after work, and there can be special meetings or you know, and you talk about joint hearings, and it's more of a time thing. It's, you know, I don't get back into town until after the meeting starts, or I'd come right from work and if the meeting goes late.
The other
so.
committee, the CPA committee, gets nothing, and they don't put in as much time, but they have big responsibility of
Yeah.
a large money budget.
The one that you haven't mentioned is Concom, Conservation Commission.
They also do a lot. Don't want to open a big can of worms, so let's see what other towns do and go from there.
Sounds good.
Okay? And again, we have time on this one. Move to adjourn?
Second.
Sorry there.
Well, I'm sorry.
You were late.
I lost my car keys.
Oh, no.
I blamed it on the student.
So you had to crank the shaft by yourself with the hand
You
crank?
should have seen me there. I popped that clutch, yeah, right.
You have a standard, do you really?
I do, actually.
I get as many people, none of my students know how to drive a standard.
Nobody
It
will steal my
scares-
car, 'cause
scares
nobody
me.
knows how to drive.
I was just gonna say, right, you don't learn how to,
All my kids know.
Yep, mine too. My one.
Hey,
yeah, likewise.
love the superintendent for people. The one from Agawam, to give you a heads up, she's good.
I know all three of them.
Were you involved in the interview process?
No, I set this aside. I mean, one,
I don't
yeah.
know when you get involved, but the school
I-
committee gets involved now, right?
Yeah, so the
Oh, let
search
me
committee
turn
was
this
the
off.
search, yeah. So, I know them just